In the history of American crime, Al Capone is a name that resonates with chilling power and enduring mystique. He was a titan of the underworld, a ruthless entrepreneur who carved an empire out of Prohibition-era Chicago. His story is a dark mirror reflecting a tumultuous chapter in American history. Capone's legend is etched in violence, ambition, and an almost theatrical defiance of law and order. He became the face of organized crime, a figure both reviled and strangely admired. His rise and fall encapsulate the raw, untamed spirit of the Roaring Twenties. This is the saga of Alphonse Gabriel Capone, a man who built an empire on illicit liquor and fear. It is a tale of power, corruption, and the ultimate price of unchecked ambition. Prepare to delve into the heart of darkness that defined an era. Alphonse Capone was born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1899 to Italian immigrant parents. His early life was marked by poverty and the harsh realities of urban existence. He quickly fell in with street gangs, learning the brutal lessons of survival. His formal education ended abruptly in the 6th grade after an altercation with a teacher. This early expulsion set him on a path away from conventional society. The streets became his true classroom, teaching him cunning and cruelty. He joined the notorious 5 Points Gang, a breeding ground for future crime bosses. It was during this time, working as a bouncer, that he received the infamous scar that earned him the nickname Scarface. This mark became a permanent reminder of his violent world. Capone's mentor, Johnny Torrio, recognized his protégé's raw potential. In 1920, Torrio summoned Capone to Chicago, a city ripe for exploitation under Prohibition. This move would forever change the landscape of American crime. Chicago was a wide-open town, a battleground for rival gangs vying for control of the lucrative bootlegging trade. Torrio, a shrewd strategist, saw Capone as the muscle needed to secure their dominance. The stage was set for a new kind of criminal enterprise. Capone quickly proved his worth, rising through the ranks with a blend of brutality and business acumen. He was not just a thug. He possessed a keen, albeit twisted, understanding of supply and demand. The city would soon bend to his will. Prohibition, intended to curb vice, instead created an unprecedented opportunity for organized crime. The demand for alcohol was insatiable, and Capone was ready to supply it. He built a vast network of breweries, distilleries, and speakeasies. His operation was a marvel of illicit logistics, moving vast quantities of liquor across state lines. He bribed police, judges, and politicians, ensuring his empire operated with impunity. Corruption was the grease that kept his machine running. Capone's wealth grew exponentially, allowing him to live a life of extravagant luxury. He presented himself as a legitimate businessman, a benefactor to the poor, even opening soup kitchens. This public facade masked a brutal reality. Capone's rise was paved with violence. Rival gangs, unwilling to cede territory, were met with overwhelming force. The streets of Chicago became a bloody battleground, a testament to his ruthless ambition. He employed an army of enforcers, loyal and utterly merciless. Drive-by shootings, bombings, and assassinations became commonplace. Capone eliminated anyone who stood in his way, consolidating his power through fear. His reputation for brutality was legendary, striking terror into the hearts of both rivals and ordinary citizens. He was a man who commanded absolute obedience, and dissent was met with swift, deadly retribution. Chicago lived under his shadow. The pinnacle of Capone's reign of terror occurred on February 14, 1929. 7 members of Bugs Moran's North Side gang were brutally murdered in a garage. This event shocked the nation and cemented Capone's image as a cold-blooded killer. Though Capone was in Florida at the time, the massacre was widely attributed to his orders. It was a calculated act of intimidation, designed to eliminate his most persistent rival. The sheer audacity of the crime was unprecedented. The St. Valentine's Day massacre became a symbol of unchecked gang violence and Capone's absolute power. It ignited public outrage and intensified calls for federal intervention. The tide was slowly beginning to turn against him. The federal government, spurred by public outcry, finally turned its full attention to Capone. President Hoover declared war on the gangster, instructing his Treasury Secretary to get Capone. The hunt was on. Eliot Ness and his team of incorruptible agents, famously dubbed the Untouchables, began dismantling Capone's bootlegging operations. They targeted his breweries and distilleries, striking at the heart of his financial empire. While Ness attacked his liquor supply, another federal agent, Frank Wilson, pursued a different angle. He meticulously gathered evidence of Capone's financial dealings, searching for the Achilles heel of the seemingly invincible gangster. Despite his vast criminal enterprise, Capone had always been careful to avoid direct involvement in the violence. He was a master of plausible deniability, making it difficult to link him directly to murders. But the law found another way. The federal government realized that Capone, for all his power, had a fundamental vulnerability. He paid no income tax. This seemingly mundane offense became the key to his downfall. It was a legal loophole that would ensnare the kingpin. After years of painstaking investigation, federal prosecutors built an airtight case. They proved that Capone had amassed millions in undeclared income. The charges were not for murder or bootlegging, but for tax evasion. In 1931, Al Capone was indicted on 22 counts of income tax evasion. The trial was a sensation, captivating the nation. Despite his attempts to bribe jurors, the evidence against him was overwhelming. Capone was found guilty and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. It was a stunning victory for law enforcement and a symbolic end to an era of rampant gangsterism. The seemingly untouchable crime boss had finally been brought to justice. His imprisonment marked the beginning of the end for his vast criminal empire. Without its charismatic and ruthless leader, the organization began to crumble. The streets of Chicago slowly began to reclaim a semblance of order. Capone's initial incarceration was in Atlanta, but his continued influence from behind bars led to his transfer. He was sent to the newly opened maximum security prison on Alcatraz Island, a place designed to break even the toughest criminals. The harsh conditions and isolation of Alcatraz took a severe toll on Capone. His health deteriorated rapidly, exacerbated by untreated syphilis contracted years earlier. The once feared gangster became a shadow of his former self. His mental faculties declined significantly, and by the time of his release in 1939, he was a broken man. The mighty Scarface, who once commanded an empire, was now confused and frail, his mind ravaged by disease. Al Capone spent his final years in relative obscurity, living quietly in Florida. He was no longer a threat, his power and influence completely gone. The man who had once terrorized a city was now a tragic figure. He died on January 25, 1947, at the age of 48, from complications of syphilis. His death marked the definitive end of a tumultuous chapter in American history. The legend, however, would only grow. Capone remains an enduring symbol of the Prohibition era, a testament to the allure and danger of unchecked power. His story continues to fascinate, a dark cautionary tale woven into the fabric of American lore.